Happy Hanukkah! The last night. Wow. Our homes are now filled with the light of the Chanukiah. And this is a song I wrote a few years ago about being the light. Be the light, be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light, be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. At this gloomy time of year, the wind blows harsh and cold. Daylight disappears while darkness takes its hold. We tell the ancient story of the Maccabees' brave fight, but today their task is in our hands. We all must be the light. Be the light. Be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. History has taught us that tyrants feed on fear. As long as we are living, to stand and persevere. When we use our strength and power to stand up for what's right, every waking hour helps us to be the light. Be the light. Be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Our enemies know well that power is quite fleeting. As long as truth and courage in our hearts and souls are beating, justice's path is twisted. We've got to hold on tight to our faith, 'cause we've insisted that we all must be the light. Sing along. Be the light. Be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Hi. So, my good friend Yankel here wants to tell us my favorite Hanukkah story, and I think his favorite Hanukkah story too. So, Yankel, you ready? Yeah. Don't look at Rabbi Black's lips. It's me talking, not him. A long time ago, during the time that the temple stood in Jerusalem, King Solomon lived. And King Solomon was very, very knowledgeable. He knew everything. He knew how to solve problems, but he also knew how to speak the language of all the animals. One day, in the temple in Jerusalem, a dibek appeared. Now, what's a dibek, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. A dibek is a little
imp. It's an imp. It's an annoyance. It's a little magical creature that has one thing that drives everybody crazy. But a little bit. Nothing bad, but annoying. And this specific Dybbuk had something that he did that was very, very annoying. When he was around, everything moved very, very slowly. Slow. You'd wake up in the morning and the Dybbuk was around. You'd sit up and it would be an hour later. And then you'd put on your socks and your pants and your shoes and all your clothes. It would be time for lunch. And then you'd get up and you'd wash your face and do everything you needed to do. It'd be the middle of the afternoon, and by the time you got out of your house, it was dinner time. Very annoying when he was around, very annoying. And so the people decided to figure out what to do, and they went to King Solomon, and they said, what do we do? King Solomon, we got to get rid of this annoying, slow Dybbuk. And King Solomon said, what I have learned is if you have a Dybbuk, you need to find something from the land in which he came. Maybe a plant or a leaf from a tree or something that will attract him and distract him, and you put it someplace where you can find him and put him away and seal him in a jar. That's the only way to get rid of a Dybbuk. So King Solomon called the birds from all over the world to fly all over to find the land of the slow Dybbuk. And they flew and they flew and they looked, and finally a bird came back with a leaf from a tree from the land of the slow Dybbuk. So what did King Solomon do? When the Dybbuk wasn't around, he had his guards take that leaf and place it in an open small jar of oil in the middle of the temple. Well, sure enough, this little impish Dybbuk came around doing his mischief, and all of a sudden he sniffed. He goes, he sniffed and he smelled something familiar. He smelled something from his house, his home country. And he went over to the jar of oil that was just big enough for oil and for him. He looked in, he smelled the leaf from his homeland, and he got homesick. And he crawled closer and closer and closer. And soon, one of the guards from King Solomon pushed him in, put him in the jar, sealed him there, closed it up, and wrote on the jar, "Do not open unless it's an emergency." Well, that jar with the slow Dybbuk in it sat in the very back of a very back storeroom in the temple in Jerusalem for hundreds of years. Nobody touched it. And it stayed there until the time of the Maccabees. You know the story of the Maccabees. They defeated the Assyrians, Greeks. They kicked out all of the pagan shrines from the temple, and they purified the temple. And it came time to light the menorah. They looked for oil everywhere. They couldn't find enough holy oil that was sealed. Finally, in the very, very back room of a temple no one had been to for a long time, they found this one jar. And on the jar was a sign that said, "Do not open unless it's an emergency." Do you know what was in that jar? That's right, the Dybbuk. They opened the jar and out popped the Dybbuk. But he says, "I am out of here. I don't want to be in a jar anymore." And he flew away. And no one ever saw him again. But that oil was holy oil. And so they put it into the Hanukkah, into the Menorah to light the lamp. And there was something about that oil. It burned very, very slowly. So slow that it lasted for 8 days. And the Maccabees were able to get more oil. And that's the true story of the Hanukkah Dibik and the oil that burned for 8 days. At least I think it's true. Happy Hanukkah.
And now it's time to light the 8th night, the 8 candles for the very last night of Hanukkah. Join with me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Hanukkah. These don't want to light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the lights of Hanukkah. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who made miracles for our ancestors at this time of year in those ancient days. We look at our beautiful Chanukiah. All of our lights are kindled. It's our last night. Let's make the most. The shamas fell, that's okay. The shamas doesn't have to be lit. The others do have to be lit. Happy, happy Hanukkah.